Forced to work from home by your employer? Laid off or feeling depressed at home? Do you want to make money working from anywhere? We'll show you how to do it from your couch. It's time for another episode of the Work From Home Show. Coming to you from their homes in Austin, Texas and Tampa, Florida, here are your hosts, Adam and Naresh.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Work From Home Show. I'm Naresh Vissa with Adam Schrader. We have on the line Jyotsna Ramachandran with us. She's the founder of Author Success Academy and #1 international best-selling author of Job Escape Plan, the 7 steps to build a home business, quit your job, and enjoy the freedom. A book that has done extremely well on Amazon, hundreds of reviews, almost all 5 just kind of reviews on all spectrums, but mostly 5 stars. And it's very, very relevant to you guys and to working from home, how to start your business, how to enjoy the freedom. So Jyotsna, welcome to the Work From Home Show.
Thank you so much, Naresh and Adam, for having me on this wonderful show.
Let's start with your journey, Jyotsna. Tell us your background. I believe you're a mother as well. How did you get started building your business from home?
A great question, Naresh. So I think it all started 9 years ago when I decided to quit my job. So for close to a decade, I've been working from home now, which I just realized just before coming on your show. So it all started because I actually had a tough boss at my workplace, and I used to work in the retail industry in India. So that's when all these malls and these premium international brands were getting into India. So that industry was looking very promising, and that's why I joined the retail industry, worked there for about 5 years in different fashion brands. But it was getting too monotonous, and every now and then I would think of quitting my job, but I did not have a real motivating factor till the day I had a bad boss who just yelled at me, and that was it. And I just decided to quit without really having an idea as to what to do next. That's when I thought I could either find another job or I could just try starting something on my own. So I thought I can always find a job. It's not that difficult because back then India had a lot of jobs in that industry. So I thought, let me just give entrepreneurship a try. And that's when I started my first business called Redefined Retail, which was a recruitment agency for the retail business. This was 9 years back. I ran that pretty successfully for about 2 years. And then I became a mom. That was the biggest turning point of my life, Naresh. And that's when I decided that I have to completely work from home from now on. And then I started my publishing business.
Well, let's delve in a little bit to 2 things you said. First thing, which I didn't mention, you are coming to us from Chennai, India. You're not in the United States or in Canada or in Europe. You are in Chennai, India. I believe it's very late at night right now as we do this interview. So you did this from India, and we do have an international listenership, including many listeners from India. So I hope those listeners are taking some inspiration. But then my second kind of question that I want to ask is, you said you started a retail recruitment company. Is that right? Can you tell us how that business worked and its model from home?
Oh, sure. So I was just making a list of all the skills I had because I decided that I need to use my existing skills to start a business. So I went around asking about 10 or 15 of my friends, and I just asked them, what do you think I am good at? And many of them said, you're really good with people, you have a great network. And I used to be the area manager of the retail stores I was handling. And though we had a human resources department, I was the one who was doing all the recruitment most of the time. So I knew that more than operations or marketing or sales, I was really good at recruiting team members and retaining them. So I knew that retail industry had a huge demand because a lot of these foreign brands were coming in, and India did not have that kind of manpower to meet those demands. So I knew that this industry is really going to pick. And I just thought, what do I need? I already knew all the HR heads of different companies. So that was my strength. And I just put together a website. That was my only investment, Naresh. So in Indian rupees, that was 100,000 rupees. So how much would that be in dollars? Like $1,200. So that was my investment in putting a website together. Back then, I did not know how to develop it myself. So I just commissioned a designer to do it. And I just got a logo design, printed some business cards, had a brochure ready, and that's about it. I just started to reach out to the HR managers that I knew, telling them that, hey, I'm in business now. If you need any help with recruiting people for your stores, just reach out to me. So I was the only person doing this. So I would just either download resumes from these job portals, but they were not that effective. So I would actually go into these malls and all these high street fashion stores. And a lot of those guys knew me. So they were all excited that I've started this new agency, and they were all submitting their resumes to me every single day. So I was building my database. And on this other hand, I had these recruiters who were giving me their requirements. So I was like a matchmaker between the people who are seeking a job and the recruiters. But I also used to add some value in the process, because I used to prepare these people before they would go for a job interview. I would send them to a makeup brand to get a makeover, and before sending them to a job interview. I'm sure no other recruiter would do those kind of ground level tasks of actually looking at them, grooming them, making them ready with the right answers for the interview, and send them. So that was how I was running this, Naresh.
So one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs have, kind of the mental hurdle they have to get over, is saying, I'm just a small fish in a big pond. I'm competing against, in your case, like the big headhunting firms, the big placement people. How did you get over the mental hurdle of saying, I'm just a one-woman show taking on the big industry, and say, you know what, I am a one-woman show, but I can take on the big industry? How did you make that mental leap?
I think what I used to think, Adam, was I knew there were hundreds of staff recruitment agencies in India, but most of them were really big and they had hundreds of employees, but they were not industry specific. They would recruit for every industry out there, and they had a huge number of clients in their kitty, and that was how they were operating. But as an employee, as a manager in that industry myself, I knew what was the vacuum, where was that space where I used to find it really difficult to hire these team members. I used to work with these agencies, but they would never give me the kind of staff I wanted. So I would actually use my network to get in people. So I knew that though there were these big players, maybe their focus was not the retail industry. They were great with IT industry, the BPO industry, but I felt there was nobody with retail industry experience doing this for the retail industry. So I think I just carved a very small micro niche for myself, and that really gave me the confidence that I could do this.
Now let's talk a little bit, Jyotsna, about how you shifted. You left your journey off as you had children. First off, how many children do you have?
Right, I have 2 kids right now.
2 kids. So you left off saying you had children, and that's when you kind of mentally had an inflection point that said, I am going all in on working from home. So what changed after you had children, and how did you end up becoming a book publishing expert and author?
Sure. So when I had my baby, I was still running the business from home, but because I didn't need an office, I did not have employees in that recruitment agency. So my office was technically my home, but I had to go out all the time to meet my clients, to meet with these potential staff whom I was recruiting. So I was all the time traveling from one city to the other and meeting a lot of people and answering phone calls. Oh my God, I used to get 100 phone calls and I would make 100 phone calls a day. So that was my lifestyle. But as soon as I became a mom, I realized I could not continue this for a long time, because one day I clearly remember I was on this very important call with the CEO of this brand called Tommy Hilfiger. And I knew that if that call goes on well, they are going to be like my big client for the next few years. So I was so
How
excited to
did
crack
you?
that. Yeah,
Let's
go
stop there.
ahead.
How did you get that call with the CEO of Tommy Hilfiger? How did you work your way up?
My friends used to work with that brand, so I just told them that, hey, I know you guys are really struggling with your attrition, and just get me that one meeting with your boss, and I will make sure that your lives become easier. So that's how it happened.
Okay, yeah. So continue. So you're talking to the CEO of Tommy
Yeah.
Hilfiger.
And I could hear my newborn daughter cry from the other room. And coincidentally, there was nobody else at home to look after her. So I had to apologize to that guy and saying that, sorry, I'll call you back some other time. And I had to rush and attend to my daughter. And that's when it was like an aha moment for me, because I felt so guilty about myself while I was feeding her. She was just hungry. I didn't attend to her for some 2 hours or something, and all this happened. And I felt so bad about myself. And I asked this question: should I really be doing this? Because on one side, I was so passionate about this business because I created it from scratch. It was running well for 2 years. I could grow it to the next level. I could hire people and grow it. But on the other hand, I also felt that I should just be a good stay at home mom, being with my daughter, because that's the most important role I was supposed to play at that time. And then I thought, can't I do both? Can't I just be growing my career and business and also be a good mom? And that's when I thought maybe I should not be so attached to this business. Maybe I should do something else which will still let me make money, but at the same time be at home completely without attending phone calls. So that was the important thing. Without attending phone calls and without going and meeting clients outside my home. So that's when I just Googled how to make money online, because I felt if the complete business was an online business model, then I wouldn't have to do all this running around. So, and I would have more freedom of time basically without attending calls. So that's when I saw that a lot of people in the US and Canada were getting into self-publishing. So many articles, so many blogs and podcasts were all talking about self-publishing on Amazon. And that sounded very interesting. Though I had zero experience in the publishing industry, I just went and took a lot of online courses to just understand what this whole thing was all about. And I realized that people were not writing these books themselves. Entrepreneurs were just finding good ghostwriters, giving them current topics that were in demand, and they were just getting these books written and publishing it on Amazon. So I hired a mentor who was doing this at a very high level, and he coached me. And within 6 months, I published some 50 different titles on Amazon. And luckily, those books started giving me
50 different books
yes.
in a couple
Today
of
it's
months?
in 6 months, 50 books, because all I would do is just find good topics that were in trend. And I would just find these ghostwriters on websites like Upwork. Back then it was called Elance or Odesk or something like that. So I would just find these freelancers who are writing, give them the money to write a 5,000 to 7,000 word book. They would write it in a week's time by just Googling the stuff on, on different online sites, and they would put it together. But today, let me give you a disclaimer. Today, I'm not super proud of that business model, but that time it really helped me to get started with
Yeah,
an online
that's
business.
important. Yeah, getting started.
Yeah, and 6 months later, I realized that this was making me enough money. I think at the best time, I was making over $5,000 from these books the per month, the royalty. And my recruitment business was making much less than that. So I decided, let me just shut that down and focus fully on this. And that gave me the confidence to write my first book called Job Escape Plan, because I realized that though this was making me money, I felt that somebody else was writing it and I had no clue about those topics. I wouldn't even read those books myself. So I thought, let me at least authentically share my journey, because by then a lot of people had started to ask me, hey Jyotsna, you're doing something from home, you're a new mom, but we know that you're making money. So how did you manage to quit your job? So a lot of people began to ask me that question. So I thought it's a good time for me to sit and write my book. So that's how Job Escape Plan got published. And once it became a bestseller and people got to know about the book and my journey, a lot of aspiring authors started to approach me asking if I can help them to put their book together because they had a genuine message, some good knowledge that they really wanted to share with their world, which was theirs. So they were real authors, unlike the ghostwriters I was hiring. These were real authors who needed help. So I thought, wow, by now I had all the resources, the editors, the cover designers, the formatters. So why not put them all together as an agency for self-publishing? And that's how Happy Self-Publishing was born.
Your book about the 7 steps to building a home business, one of the hardest things that you can do is find a job while you have a job, or, create a job while you have a job, and just kind of getting out of the mindset of my current job. So what are your big tips to people who are going to start building a home business? What are some of the first steps that people need to take?
Great question. So I think the first step is to take responsibility for wherever we are currently. So in my previous jobs as an employee, if something would go wrong, I would always blame my team or my boss. But I realized that now I'm completely on my own. So wherever I'm right now is all because of me, and wherever I'm going to go is also going to be because of me. So I need to be completely in control of my life. So I need to own all the good and bad of where I am right now. I think that is the very, very first step that I took. And because of that responsibility I took, I felt more powerful that now that I've made a decision to be an entrepreneur for the rest of my life, I need to do everything in my power to make sure that I can run a successful business. If not, I would have, probably after I became a mom, I would have gone back to a job. But because I took that one decision to take responsibility, I stuck with my decision of being an entrepreneur.
Well, you bring up a really good point, which is taking responsibility. And it's not just creating a business from home or starting a business, but in life, in marriage,
it applies to everything.
Parenting. Yeah. If more people had that mindset of taking responsibility and not depending on some other person, whether it's a school or a teacher or their spouse or their in-law or their parents, I think a lot of just life in general would be more peaceful and smoother. So I think it's an extremely important lesson and words of wisdom that people should take to heart.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
And one thing I also want to mention is you and I, we both work from home. I've been working from home full-time since 2013. But unlike you had to figure this out after your children were born. I mean, you were kind of doing it from home before they were born, but you had this epiphany, I need to take this more seriously. I need to find ways to monetize and make money from home. Whereas with me, the strategy was different. And this was never really a strategy. It just ended up working out this way. But I spent my mid-20s, late 20s building my cash flow and my businesses from home. Not because one day I said, one day I'm going to get married and have children and and it's just going to be easier. But now it's turned out I am married. I have one baby boy. And
wow.
And now I look back and I'm like, man, all that labor and effort that I put in my mid-20s, late 20s is now coming back and paying reward. And as my son, who knows if we have another child, but as my son gets older, that's more time that I'm able to spend with him and be involved in his life, whether it's volunteering at his school, coaching sports, or just being an active, engaged father. And if I didn't put in that work in my mid to late 20s, then my involvement and my freedom as a parent would be severely limited. So, like I said, I didn't plan it out this way, but it just worked out. And hopefully it'll continue to work out perfectly. And I think that's something our younger listeners should keep in mind as well. But in your case, you already had your first child, and then you said, okay, I need to take this more seriously, working from home.
Exactly. So I'm really glad that you put in all the effort in your 20s, and now when you have a kid, it's actually helping you, right? So in my case, after my daughter was born is when I seriously decided that I have to work full-time from home. And initially, it was definitely not easy because being a new mom itself, can be so stressful. And on the other hand, I also had a business to manage. So initially, I did not have the discipline. I used to just think that by being at home with my baby all day and running a business, I'm actually, doing the right thing. But just being at home will not make you more productive. That's what I realized, because yeah, your kid is just right there. But then if you don't plan a lot of things well, it can be even more stressful than going to a normal 9 to 5 job and coming back. Because here there are no boundaries when you work from home, right? So initially I did not set these boundaries for myself. I did not have a dedicated workspace. I would just work from my bed, from my couch, from anywhere. And my family did not understand what I was doing. They were not sure if I was on Netflix or if I was replying to a client's email, because they did not know what my work timings were. So those were the initial challenges that I faced, where I myself did not have that discipline of this is the time when I start the day at work and this is the time when I finish my work. So slowly, I think when my daughter was about 1 or 2 years old, when things were actually going, my business was, this publishing business was also picking up, and I was having more and more fights with my mom and my husband. And that's when I realized, oh my God, it's good that I'm at home, but it cannot continue this way. I need to put a structure and some discipline in my day-to-day work. So then I created a zone in my house. So that's my office space. So we live in a 3-bedroom apartment. So one bedroom is actually my husband's home office. He also works now full-time from home. He is a relationship therapist. So he gets his clients at the office. So I've given him that luxury of having the whole room for himself. But I have demarcated a space in one of our bedrooms, and that's my home office. And my kids, now they are 7 and 4, and they totally understand. For example, right now it's 10:50 p.m. here in India, and they are with my husband, and they know that mama is on a call. So now they are well, trained and prepared, and they know the difference between when I'm actually doing the routine work like checking emails or things like that, and when I'm doing a video or an interview. So they know the difference between deep work and the normal work. So these were certain rules and disciplines that I had to bring in. I would change to my work clothes in the morning, so everybody knows that I'm working and I'm not casually doing some things. So I think all those little things, like putting a whiteboard to track my numbers and things like that, makes it feel more like an office rather than a casual side business. So all those little things really helped me, Naresh.
Can you talk a little bit about how you have had to work from home differently as your kids have grown up? Because I started working from home about 4 months before my first was born. And I used to tell people it was so much easier to work from home, because I'm a stay-at-home dad as well. And I used to tell people it was so much easier being a work-from-home parent and a stay-at-home parent before they could start crawling. Because realistically, then they were just like in a bouncer and their rocker, or I could hold them and work. And I didn't have a phone job, which was very helpful in my case. But then the work has to evolve as you're working from home, and your work style has to evolve as they get a little older. Can you talk about your strategies that you've implemented through the age ranges?
Oh, yeah. So when my kids were really small, somebody has to be with them all the time. So the first strategy was I moved closer to my mom's place. When I got married, I wanted to stay as far away as possible from them, because I was enjoying my freedom. In India, girls don't get enough freedom when they are with their parents. So I was really enjoying my freedom when I got married, and I was totally away from them. But as soon as I had my kid, I wanted to be closer to my mom's place. So
The
that's the
exact
first
same
thing.
story as my wife. Get married,
Really?
stay far away, have the kid, mom moves
Go
in.
back closer.
No, actually, mom
Right.
moved in.
Yeah, that really helped. And asking for help and support. So I used to think that a good mom should be the only caretaker for the child. But now I realize that kids know who their mom is, and they can, how many ever, like you can have your babysitters, you can have helpers, and there is nothing to feel guilty about. In fact, I feel so privileged that I can afford to have babysitters when I'm not with them. So that was when they were small. That was really, really helpful. Now as they grow older, they're more independent, but they're just getting noisier. So what I do is, for me, these timings when they are asleep, which is like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., or nights as well, 10 p.m. and after that, that's my prime time for especially talking to my potential clients in the US. Most of my clients for Happy Self Publishing are from countries like US and Australia. So it's good for me because that's the time when my kids are asleep. So I open my calendar at this time so that it's easier for me to take calls. So I don't follow the usual 9 to 5. It just does not work. And now, because of COVID-19, kids have their online classes. And if I just leave them to attend their classes on their own, they would be like coloring or doing something else when the teacher is teaching math. So I need to be around with them when they are at their work. So I, make sure that when they really need me, I'm there. But when they can be on their own, that's when I don't feel really necessary. I don't feel it necessary to be with them all the time. And also, giving enough and more responsibilities to your spouse also helps. And this is one thing women sometimes feel bad about, that, oh my God, my husband has to do all this. But I think, especially in countries like India, there is still a lot of, gender stereotypes. But I'm really glad that our generation is just breaking all of that and men take equal responsibility. So I think we need to ask for help and I sometimes demand help. So that really, really helps.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point about the boundaries that you have to set, because this is something I'm still working on. It sounds simple, but you have to communicate and somehow let the people in the household know, especially in my case, I brought up, now it's not just my wife and me. When it was just us two, the boundaries were pretty simple, but now it's my son, who's just a baby, so he gets a free pass. But we'll have grandparents now, pretty often at the house, and it's understanding, like you said, your family didn't know if you were watching Netflix or if you were doing emails or if you were on a video conference call. And so it's kind of establishing those boundaries and communicating what is work and when are you working. It is hard.
I have a 10-year-old and that hasn't happened yet.
Well, it is hard. It is hard because working from home, at least in my case, I don't have set hours. I can't just say, all right, from 9 to 5, I'm going to be in front of my computer. That's not how it works, because like today is or today is a holiday in the United States.
Black Friday, right?
Yeah, it's a holiday. And
I had a 7:15 phone call.
Yeah, we're doing this interview, and then I've had to do maybe an hour's worth of work. So, and then weekends, I work about an hour a day on weekends. And then weekdays, it's hit or miss. Sometimes I'm working 6, 7, 8 hours or even more. Some days I'm only working 3, 4 hours.
Yeah.
So I think the important, in my case, it's if I'm in front of my computer, I'm working. So don't disturb me if I'm in front. Because if I want to watch Netflix, I can do that on the TV. If I want to read the news or read sports or whatever, I can do that on my phone. But if I'm in front of my computer, that means I'm working. It doesn't matter if my headphones are on or off. When I'm in front of my computer, I am doing work. That's the only boundary I can set right now.
Yeah, I think that I'm glad you brought this point, because we are in front of the computer all day. So how does family know whether we are seriously working or we are chilling? So what I do is I share my Google Calendar with my husband. So he knows exactly when I'm blocking time for important work, like team meetings and client calls and interviews and things like that. And he knows, and I also get to see his calendar. So that way we take turns. And with respect to my parents, because they just stay next door, the cue that they get is when my air conditioner is on, it means I'm on a call. Because in India, we have this habit of turning on the fan most of the time. But if the fan is on, I cannot be doing interviews. So I turn off the fan and turn on the AC, which means that they cannot call me on my landline. So that's the hint that they get, and they don't disturb me when my AC is on. So that's how we have to, have our own ways to communicate to our family.
You obviously don't live in Texas, or else people would always think you're working. Air conditioners here. Joshna, thank you so much for joining us for this part of the interview. We will be back with her on Wednesday for more on this. She is the founder of Author Success Academy and the #1 international best-selling author of Job Escape Plan. Check her out at happyselfpublishing.com. That's happyselfpublishing.com. Check us out, workfromhomeshow.com. That's workfromhomeshow.com. And until next time, keep on working from home.